Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. This is Helen with ADU1, also a part of Retrofit One and now Balcony One as well. Thank you for joining us today, Thursday, October 20th or 21st, one of those, can't keep up anymore. And today we're going to go over, of course, all of our general ADU information, as always. As well as today, I will give a little piece regarding balcony. SB 326, which is for condominiums, and SB 721, which are for all multifamily properties with 3 or more units with the required exterior elevated elements to be inspected and repaired if needed. There should be a chat room available at all times. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type it in the chat and I will get to them most likely after the slides because I can't see it when I'm sharing my screen and looking at the slides. So we will begin. I will share my screen. Alrighty. So if everybody can see this. So again, welcome to ADU1's ADU webinar, which we will go over all general rules and guidelines and everything. Let me just make sure, let me see here. Just want to make sure. Okay, good. Everybody can hear me. I'm going to share my screen again. Alrighty. So an ADU, it stands for accessory dwelling unit. It's an accessory to your primary home or building with full independent living facility. So it has to have its own bathroom and kitchen as well as its own exterior entrance into the unit. You may have heard other names for it, such as granny flats, in-law suites, guest houses. They've always been allowed, mainly for single-family homes, garage conversions and so forth, or like a unit in the back. But now, what's pretty awesome, is they are allowed in multifamily buildings. So in the past, they were really used as, if elderly family needed to stay, kids who, went to school and then came back, or just older children, as well as some rental income or expanding your house as an addition. What we focus on really as a company is rental income, maximizing your rental income and helping you get the most use out of your property, especially when it comes to multifamily homes where you do have more of an allowance for ADUs. You can do a higher quantity there for most buildings and kind of put them in different areas, as well as single family homes. Single family homes actually has one configuration that's not allowed in multifamily properties, and we'll get into that. So the types of ADUs that you can do are attached and detached ADUs. The language is a little different when talking about single family homes versus multifamily. For attached ADUs, these are for multifamily properties. Attached is considered an internal conversion. You cannot do new construction and attach it to a multifamily building. Whereas for a single family home, this is the configuration that is different that you are allowed to do. The single family home can also be an internal conversion, such as this, converting an attached garage. Same with multifamily, you can convert attached parking or carports or garages. But for single family homes, you can also do new construction and attach it to the house. For multifamily properties, again, attached means internal conversions of your attached garages, tuck under parking, like the style of parking that needs retrofitting, that's underneath dwelling space, that's underneath current units. You can convert storage rooms, recreational rooms, certain crawl spaces, of course, if there's enough height, basements, attics. And sometimes you can also, for single family homes, you can also build on top of an attached garage. Multifamily, you cannot, because again, you cannot do new construction and put it in connection with the existing structure. Detached ADUs, similar language for both single family and multifamily. You can either convert a structure that's detached, like a garage or carport. You can build on top of them if your city allows, or it can be for either single family or multifamily. It can be new construction that's built on the land, space permitting, of course, and as long as you are conforming to setbacks. All new construction has to conform to setbacks, which are typically 4 feet from the side property lines and rear property lines. And usually the general number is 6 feet of building separation. So it has to be 6 feet away from the primary structure. Some cities do require 10 feet. Here's an example of a detached ADU. It's not connected to the existing structure. It's just on its own on the property. In this case, the reason it's on the property line is because this structure already existed. It was already there, a legal structure. So when you are converting a structure that already exists, you do not have to change the setbacks. It can be on the property line if it already is. So how many ADUs can I add? For multifamily properties, you can do at least one unit. So a duplex, if you have an attached garage, attached storage room, you can convert that into one unit, and up to 25% of your current number. That's more relevant when you have, a fourplex, 8 units, 12 units, 16 units, like the little chart below. So you can do, again, at least one. So if you have a duplex to 7 units, you can do one attached ADU. If you have a 12-unit building, you can do 3 attached. If you have a 13-unit building, you can still do 3 attached. It's rounded down. If you have a 20-unit building, you can do 5 attached. So it's a quarter of your existing number of units. For single-family homes, however, you're only allowed one ADU, and that's attached or detached. If the property is owner occupied, so if the owner lives in the house, you can also do what's called a junior ADU in addition to your regular ADU. The junior ADU, however, has to be part of the existing home. It cannot be new construction. It has to be within the house, or it can also be an attached garage, and you're limited to 500 square feet. So the junior ADU, again, has to be part of the home, can't be new construction, cannot be detached. And you're limited to 500 square feet, and the owner has to live in either the junior ADU or the house. So in those cases, that is when you would be allowed to do the 2 ADUs, but one of them would have to be a junior ADU. If you do not live there and it's just for rental income, you can only do 1 ADU, attached or detached. For detached in the multifamily world, you are permitted up to 2 detached units. It doesn't matter how large your lot is, if you're on acres of land, it doesn't matter. You can do up to 2 detached units. In most jurisdictions, this is in addition to that 25% for attached. So for example, if you have a fourplex in Los Angeles, that has a tuck under parking, you can convert all or part of that into 1 attached unit and up to 2 detached units. So your fourplex can become 7 units via the ADU route. If you have a 13-unit building, you can do 3 attached. So let's say you have attached garages, tuck under parking. You can convert all or some of that space into 3 attached. And if your land permits, space permits with the setbacks, you can also do up to 2 detached. So right away from 13, you can add 5. You can suddenly become an 18-unit building. Some cities do allow you to put, as mentioned for the detached, on top of the detached garages or carports. Some cities do not, such as Glendale, West Hollywood, and Pasadena. So if they do not allow more than 1 story, you can't build on top, at least for now, unfortunately. For single-family homes, again, only 1 ADU, doesn't matter attached or detached, unless it's owner occupied, and that's when you can have the internal junior ADU. So there are also some cities that do not allow both configurations of attached and detached, such as the list right here, like La Habra, Costa Mesa, Pasadena, Glendale, Torrance, Long Beach, Santa Clarita. Long Beach, for example, they have a little bit more strict rules. Their ordinance is up. If you just type in Long Beach accessory dwelling units, you'll get some charts from them, which I really like. They're very easy to follow. You will see in kind of their asterisk disclaimers underneath. There's a difference between like R1 and R2 zones versus R3 and R4. One of those groups, you cannot even do new construction. I believe it's R3 and R4. They don't allow new construction. Luckily, they did change this. I've noticed the last few months. They finally added, unless that's your only possibility for an ADU. So make sure to always check that. Of course, we will check it for you as well. But these cities require you to pick either attached or detached. You can't do both. So what is seismic retrofitting? Seismic retrofitting, as you see here, is structurally reinforcing the exterior of the building. This is for seismic activity, aka earthquakes, because these buildings during an earthquake, they start shaking, and they have collapsed in the past. A lot of people died, a lot of buildings damaged, cars damaged, and so forth. So the building that you see here is one with the tuck under parking. Where the scaffolding and the ladder is, that's where the cars would go in, because as you see above, there are dwelling units above. So in this picture, this was one of our earlier projects from, I think, 2015 in Westwood. We're putting in a moment frame, going to affix it to the exterior structure of the building. We patch it all up, cover it, stucco, paint, lath, everything like that, as well as we also put a new strip of foundation where the moment frame goes into with a grade beam, and that helps absorb the lateral force of the earthquake. So a lot of these buildings throughout California are required to do the retrofitting, or your bank will require it too if you're refinancing or if you just purchased a building. So a lot of the times you can't really get around this if you are involved with a building of this nature. And if your city does not require it now, most likely it will if you have a tuck under style wood frame building, especially ones that were built before the 80s. They're not up to a certain code that's needed. So this rendering is showing. So as you see here, this red moment frame, in this rendering, these two red columns in the center show where two columns or the moment frame could be. And as you see here, these tuck under spots, and this is kind of a 3D image of how they're being converted into ADUs, accessory dwelling units, with also the retrofitting elements within the structure, which is really great. If we do not have to use the steel columns, especially if it's going to mess up the kind of the design or the layout, or suddenly you'll have a column in like the middle of your living room, we can design using shear walls or strong walls within the walls of the ADU. Of course, it will always be up to code. It has to be. Our engineer is amazing and super smart, and he will design it the most efficient way possible, meeting all current codes and safety codes to get you a good design as well. That way you can do kind of both in one, meet your retrofitting requirements and at least get a return on your investment through the ADUs instead of only spending money on the retrofit, since it is not cheap to do retrofitting. Here's another example, red column in the center, and this entire area is going to be turned into an ADU. And in this case, they're adding basically a duplex, two detached ADUs. So although the detached has to be 6 feet away from the main building, they do not have to be separated from each other. The ADUs themselves can be attached, again, creating a duplex on the lot, adding two detached units there, and however many you're permitted to do as attached. This is an example that we're actually working on right now. As you see here, these are all tuck under parking spots. But there's about 9 or 10 spots. So this is showing an example of converting a few of these spots, I believe in this case 3, into, and it's one ADU that's going to be a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I'm not sure if you can tell, but in these, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but there are like dotted line boxes with, it may look like to you a wide H or an I. They're I-beams. These are columns. This is showing that if we put the ADU on the south elevation in this building, because this side is the north elevation, if we put it over here, or if you're facing the building on the left and doing the retrofitting, it would still require 2 additional columns outside of the ADU, especially this is a 3-story building. So this is why it has to have these columns here. In this case, though, our engineer let us know, and we told the client, if you use the parking spots in the center, that is when we were able to use strong walls within the structure of the ADU. By using the strong walls within the ADU, the client will save a whole lot of money by not having to put additional steel outside of the ADU. Um, in addition to the ADU itself. So they are going with this design using the center spots so that way it can be retrofitted at a more cost efficient approach, but still meeting all codes, all safety, everything required. But this way they're kind of embedding it within the structure of the ADU, saving money for the retrofitting costs, but also meeting all the requirements and getting a beautiful 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit at the same time. So here's some of our current projects. This is, we get a lot of questions about, what on earth can I even do with 300 square feet? Here's something. This actually was able to be turned into a 1-bedroom, 1-bath unit, a full bath, 360 square feet. This is on top of an existing carport. This is actually, similar to that duplex rendering I showed you. These are 2 ADUs, also, I believe 2-bedroom, 1-bath each. Yeah, 2-bedroom, 1-bath each, duplex style in LA. And of course, you're getting 2 because this is a multifamily property, so you are allowed 2. Here's another example. On the left is showing what's existing. This is an existing carport, detached. And on the right is the 2 new units that we are designing that are going to be on top of this carport. We did have to use one of the parking stalls for the stairway, as you see on the right side in the center. This is the stairway that is underneath or within the carport. But then we were able to redesign all of the parking to save all of it. And this accessory building here on the left with these kind of crisscross stripes, that is where the water heater was. We are moving the water heater to this top right angled corner area. So it's going to be underneath here, the water heater room. So by doing those kind of relocations, we were able to save all the parking and still salvage everything needed, such as laundry rooms, water heater rooms, stuff like that. And these are 2 units, 1-bedroom, 1.5 bath each. Here's another example of tuck under with retrofitting. This is the back of the building where the entire back is tuck under, and the front of the building that has just like that one spot off to the side with like an existing pipe column. These buildings, it's 2 buildings that are right next to each other that we're doing, is going to be retrofitted and get 2 ADUs at the same time. Here's another current project that we're actually way ahead of this already. There is no framing exposed. I just didn't have time to add new pictures today. We completely gutted down to the studs the main house, renovated all of that. So we do that as well. And in the back, we've gotten it ready for a 1,200 square foot detached ADU that it's currently in plan check. So we finished the house already, and we'll soon, once approved, start the 1,200 square foot ADU in the rear. So basically, you're gonna have 2 brand new houses on this lot. It's a 10,000 square foot lot, which is really awesome. Here's another current project that we're doing in Inglewood. Side of the building has tuck under, front of the building has a tuck under garage. We're doing 2 ADUs here. So here's some photos of the excavation. It's currently paused in plan check right now for a few reasons. Inglewood, they're great and everything, just a little slower than other building departments. And we're working on some electrical upgrades there and other stuff needed for these ADUs. But we will be back in business here hopefully soon. Here's a rendering of an ADU on top of a detached carport. If you need to preserve your parking, we will always show you how. This is another structure too, if you have an open lot or if you just need to kind of demo your carport. This is that internal staircase I was mentioning, preserving here. This is built up to all current codes. It is seismically retrofitted. It is safe. And that way you get to keep parking and put 2 units up at the top. So the rules for parking, since of course we went over a whole bunch of examples of using carports and garages, the state law says that if you use a garage or carport for the purpose of an ADU, you do not have to replace those required parking spots required for the primary units. You do not have to replace them. And if your property is within a half-mile walking distance to public transit, like a bus stop, you do not have to add any parking either. So 98 to 99% of the homes and buildings that we have given proposals for, or we are already working with, do not have to add or replace parking. What you do have to do, of course, specifically with rent-controlled units, if you are taking one of your tenants or more parking, you do have to give them at least a 60-day notice and give them a reduction in their rent. Otherwise, if you take something away and their rent stays the same, that looks like an increase in their rent. So you have to give them a reduction as well as 60-day notice. We even say as soon as you start the plans, because plans do take 4 to 6 months between design and plan check, just let them know then, just to be in good faith and give them enough notice. And we do get a lot of questions on what if they don't agree. The rent control board for your cities, what they told us, we just spoke with Santa Monica, they're not there to control amenities. They don't have control over that. What they do control is the rental amount. So even if the tenant is upset that you are taking their parking, the only thing that they can fight for is more of a reduction of their rent. If, let's say, you only offered them $40 and it's Santa Monica, super dense, they can't find any parking anywhere, they may be able to fight for more. Santa Monica specifically did not tell us their range, so we don't know. But that would be what it comes down to. Luckily, we haven't heard of any of that happening. The landlords have been able to negotiate just fine with the tenants. Taxes in Prop 13, the ADUs do not trigger a reassessment on your original property value. They do not. It becomes what's called a blended assessment. So the value of the ADU construction is added on to what you're already paying. We usually see a difference of maybe $1,000 more per year, but that's also with that 1% anyways that it's going up. So it's not much, and you're getting much more in rent from that anyways. So that's nice. Prop 13 still stands, and it doesn't change your original purchase value. So that about does it for our ADU portion. Again, if you have any questions, please enter them in the chat. The balcony part is very brief. I'll just go over it a little bit, and then I will get to questions if we even have any. So this is connected to the ADUs because most likely if you have a multifamily building with 3 or more units and you're adding these ADUs, you most likely have what's called exterior elevated elements. These are balconies, walkways, bridges, stairways, decks. So if you have those with 3 or more units, the state now requires that this was passed in 2019. The ADU law was passed in 2020. So in 2019, this already took effect that all of these exterior elevated elements must get inspected. I believe you have to inspect 15%. So if you have a really large building with a whole bunch of them, you have to inspect 15% of them. I could be wrong on that number, but that's what I last heard. So you have to do a report on those wood frame exterior elevated elements, and they have to be 6 feet above the ground as well to count. And the main things that we are checking for is the waterproofing, of course, because this bill was made because of the accident that happened. I think it was in 2015 in Berkeley. The exterior balcony collapsed. I think 7 students passed away. 5 were severely injured. Or it could be the other way, 5 passed, 7 injured. Regardless, it was awful. And lives that shouldn't have been lost were because of water damage that was done to that balcony. So again, it would require an inspection to these exterior elevated elements and their waterproofing. And it has to be done by a licensed architect, civil engineer, structural engineer, or a building contractor. We meet most of those, so we can do all of your inspections and reports. And then we can also, if any significant findings are found and you have to get repairs, we can also do the repairs. And there's different timelines for each. The first main timeline, at least here, unless, of course, you've already gotten notice, they have to do soon. We've heard some buildings such as some in Berkeley, have to do theirs by March 2022. This is for one management company. I'm not sure how many other buildings got that notice, but that's approaching in a few months actually. But they give us generally 6 years. So all of your buildings have to be inspected by January 1st, 2025. However, if you know that there's some issues, I would suggest doing them right away because there's a huge liability if you know about it and now know about this requirement and are not getting it inspected at the very least. And then you have to get them inspected every 6 years thereafter. So the bill requires that we give you a copy of the report within 45 days of us doing the inspection. And let's see, then you also have to keep this report too for at least 2 inspection cycles. So for that first 6 years and another 6 years. And the timeline, if we find something very significant, it's going to be a danger to your tenants or residents, we have to give you the report within 15 days, and the emergency repairs have to be addressed right away. Non-emergency repairs, I believe you have 120 days to fix those. If everything was all good and you don't need repairs, as mentioned in the previous slide, you do have to keep that report for 2 cycles of reports, but you still have to get it inspected every 6 years. So that is all for here. That is all for the balcony piece and the ADU piece. So if you have any questions or comments, please let me know in the chat. Otherwise, I will type in the chat here our contact info, our website, apartmentedu.com, which also has a link to contact us, our phone number, 1-866-NEW-ADU1. I believe that's 639-2381, 639-2381. And again, we're part of ADU 1, Retrofit 1, and Balcony 1. Now, our division that will solely focus on the balcony and deck and stairway inspections, but we're one company, regardless, one team with licensed engineers, general contractors, and plumbers. So if you would like a proposal or to hear about your ADU feasibility, or if you need to have a report for your balconies, please contact us. And I will also I'll give you my email. Oops, that's my name. Helen at adu-1.com. Please feel free to reach out. We're here to help with any specific property questions, balcony questions, and help kind of just, again, maximize your rental income. So, all right, thank you everybody for joining us, and I will see you next time.